Today on Behind the Sold Side podcast, we're talking about the top 5 mistakes first-time homebuyers make when they purchase their first home. This is what every first-time homebuyer should know before they start the process of purchasing that first home. Now, buying your first home is super exciting, but it's also risky. There's nothing quite like the thrill of searching for your first home, picturing your furniture, your life, your future behind what those walls have. But here's the hard truth. Many first-time homebuyers lose thousands of dollars simply because they don't fully understand the process before they start. The good news is these mistakes can be completely avoidable. Today we're going to walk through those 5 biggest mistakes the first-time homebuyers make and exactly how you can sidestep each one of them to get the home you deserve without any painful surprises. Now, first mistake first-time homebuyers make is they wait way too long to talk to a lender. And when I mean a lender, I mean a mortgage officer. I'm not talking about going to a bank to get you a loan. I'm talking about a local lender. You always want to make sure you're using somebody that is local, that understands the area, and knows, because there's a ton of different programs out there to help first-time homebuyers. And the local lenders are the ones that can guide you in that process. So one of the most commonly and costly mistakes, all right, first-time homebuyers make is they fall in love with homes they see online on Zillow, or maybe they come to an agent first like myself, and they start looking at homes, but they don't know what they're approved for. They don't know what they can buy. They don't know how much of a down payment they need, if they need one at all, because there's a ton of first-time homebuyer grants. And they get emotionally attached to a house before they discover that maybe they can't qualify for that specific home. So getting pre-approved first changes everything, because then you have a target, you have a goal, you know exactly what you're going into, all right? You know exactly what your budget is, okay? And the strengths of your offer in a competitive market, all right, shows sellers you're a serious buyer because you have that pre-approval with you when you go to make an offer. You're not just a curious buyer, okay? So again, first thing is you want to talk to a local lender. You want to talk to someone, get to know your real budget, all right? So when you have that pre-approval, and as an agent, I go in, I make an offer, I have to show them that pre-approval so I know that you're a willing, able buyer to buy that house, all right? And once you get that pre-approval, everything can move much quicker, all right? Again, you're going to have a target in mind. You know your budget. You know what you're approved for. You know exactly how much of a home you can afford. And the best thing about it is you know what your monthly payment is with your pre-approval, okay? Because you're going to look at a house, maybe it's $400,000, maybe it's $300,000. You say, oh, great, that's how much the house is, but what's my monthly? Okay, when you look at your pre-approval, you're going to have that monthly payment associated with that. Now, obviously, taxes and insurance are going to, either plus that monthly payment or minus that monthly payment a little bit, but that's something we have to find out because each house is going to be different, okay? But don't wait too long to talk to a lender, local lender, okay? Next mistake is thinking you need 20% down to buy a home. All right, you don't need 20% down. FHA, 3.5%, all right? That's all you need, 3.5%. And a lot of times we can kind of use some of those closing costs that sellers are offering right now to help you with that, okay? That 20% is probably the biggest myth in real estate, all right? You don't need 20% to buy a home. There's a ton of programs out there specifically designed to help you first-time homebuyers qualify for that house. There's a ton of zero options out there, like VA for all our vets out there. There's USDA loan programs out there. There's first-time homebuyer grants, down payment assistance, right? And you can use those seller concessions that we get, okay? You can use some of that to offset the down payment of the home, okay? So again, it's important that you don't go in there thinking you need a ton of money saved up when you really don't, all right? That's what the programs are meant to help you with. They are first-time homebuyer programs, all right? A ton of them out there, and that's why we go back to mistake number 1, waiting too long to talk to a local lender, because they can give you those programs and they'll let you know exactly what's out there. Mistake number 3 is ignoring those closing costs, all right? And so you saved up for a down payment, you have your 3.5%, 5%, however you're going to save, that's great, you have your down payment. Many first-time home buyers are blindsided, right? They're completely blindsided, right? Taken out by the closing costs, all right? Maybe they talk to an agent, doesn't really understand the process, doesn't understand they can use seller closing, the seller's concessions to use some of those closing costs. But your closing costs are typically going to run between 2 and upwards to 5% of your purchase price, which can be thousands of dollars out of pocket if you are not cautious about that before you go in. So one of the smartest moves I can tell you is work with an agent that knows how to negotiate, all right? Seller paid closing costs into your offer. You need to make sure you're working with someone that can negotiate those seller closing costs, right? Get those closing costs paid for by the seller using those seller concessions, all right? Especially in this market right now, if you're not getting your closing costs covered, there is something wrong with your agent, because that offer should always go in there, making sure those closing costs are at least partially covered so you're not having to come out of pocket a ton. And I get it, if you love the house, I've had ton of clients that are just, Joe, I don't care about the cost, I want the house. And that's understandable, okay? If this is your forever home and you have the extra cash and you're ready to throw down on it, do what you got to do, all right? Go after it, okay? But make sure if before you go in there are closing costs associated with buying that property, okay? And so what do the closing costs include? Well, one of them is a loan origination fee. All the lenders are going to charge you that, okay? That covers your processing, the underwriting, the mortgage application. Next thing, you have inspections and appraisals, okay? The home inspection is important. You need to make sure you know exactly what kind of home you're buying. And so the lender is also going to require the appraisal that has to meet whatever purchase price you put in there. The home has to qualify for that. So it has to appraise for that amount, all right? And then we have title and escrow fees, right? You're going to make sure there's no claims on the property. Make sure the title is good. So title insurance, escrow services, all those things. And then prepaid items such as homeowners insurance, property taxes, and prepaid mortgage interest. Those are all part of the closing costs. So you need to make sure you are cognizant of those closing costs prior to just throwing in an offer, all right? Because if your closing costs aren't covered and you're hit with 2 or 5% of the purchase price, that's a big chunk of money you're gonna have to come out of pocket, okay? So make sure you're cognizant. And again, smart move is always make sure you work with a real estate agent or realtor that is actually going to fight for you, negotiate for you like a pit bull to get you those closing costs. Mistake number 4 is falling in love with the wrong home, all right? It happens almost every time I do this, all right? First-time home buyers, they walk into a beautiful stage home, the kitchen is perfect, the backyard is dreamy, and suddenly logic goes out the window, all right? Buying with your heart, especially your first home, all right? Because this is more likely 80% of the time, this is not going to be your forever home. It could be, all right? But a lot of the times, it's not going to be your forever home. So think with your head instead of with your heart when you buy that first home, okay? Because that can really lead to long-term regret, all right? Especially if you're taking on that financial strain, all right? So lead with your head, and I get it, it's hard, but not with your heart, all right? Location matters. So however you want to look, wherever you want to be, all right? But location does matter. If you need to be close to work, right? Maybe you're starting a new job, think about the drive time, all right? Think about location. If you want a certain school district to send the kids to, you need to look at that as well, all right? Because, a great renovated kitchen is amazing, but if it's in the wrong location, right, it's not going to help you out. And then resale value. Think ahead, 5, 10 years. Is this home going to give you equity, all right? Or are you just choosing that renovated kitchen, all right? And you know you're in a bad area, so that's why you have to think about the resale value of the home later on. And then a long-term affordability, all right? Factor in HOA fees, factor in maintenance, factor in utilities, and future life changes, all right? If you're buying a 2-bedroom now, but you're going to start a family, 3 or 4 years down the road, and you're going to run out of space, think about the long term, all right? Because you're going to have to buy a new home to make that happen, all right? And you don't really want to weigh, especially for your first home, I'm going to tell you right now, do not get wrapped around the cord when it comes to finances, all right? Make sure you buy a house that you can afford now, right? Because you got to really depend on, right? There's 2 types of people out there. There's one person who stays at home, has people come over, does all their parties at their house. And there's another person who goes out every weekend, right? So think about finances, think about affordability. Are you the type of person who's going to spend a lot of time at their house? And, you can go up a little bit. But if you're the type of person who likes to go out to eat, likes to go, travel, all that stuff, start thinking about that when you're purchasing that first home. So don't fall in love with the wrong home. All right. Use your head, not your heart. And the last one, number 5, is not using a local real estate expert. All right. In the age of Zillow, online listings, many buyers think they can navigate that home buying process on their own, but there's no algorithm that can put you in the right place for the insight that's going to replace the local expert. All right. You need to find someone that knows the areas that you want to live in. Okay. Knows how to negotiate, knows the landscape, knows what the market's doing. A skilled local agent isn't just a door opener. They're your advocate. All right. They're your strategist. They're your protector throughout the biggest financial decision of your life. So smart move is make sure you have someone that's good at negotiations, right? Knows how to fight for you, knows how to get you what you want, and get you the best purchase price possible for your home. Number 2, knows the market inside and out, knows what's selling, what the trends are, if a house is overpriced or not. And maybe they can find you some hidden gems. Just like me, my buyers call me and say, hey, Joe, I want to live in this location. And there's no houses in that area. There's no house in the neighborhood. All right, so what do? I just pick up the phone or I send mailers out. I try to find a seller that's trying to get them to sell, okay? And next one is you need to find someone that's going to be able to spot red flags and protect your investment, all right? This home is an investment, so, you need to find someone that's good negotiations that can spot, bad deals and safeguard your financial future. Because this, again, is the biggest purchase of your life. So you need to make sure you are working with an expert in real estate that knows how to guide you in that process and knows how to protect your biggest financial asset going forward. Now, the home buyer advantage right now is, despite what you may have heard, right now is actually a great time to buy. Especially if you know what opportunities are, you got to find the opportunities. The market has definitely shifted into a buying market, right? Buyers have a ton of leverage right now, right? We're seeing ton of price reductions. We're getting seller concessions. There's more inventory coming out every single day. So take advantage while it's still a buyer's market out there. Here's some pro tips for first-time home buyers, okay? Again, avoiding these top 5 mistakes is half the battle. The other half is building great habits from the start when you're looking to buy your first home and going on that home buying journey, all right? Here's 4 principles that will help you do this in today's market. 1, get approved early, like we talked about. Before you fall in love with any home, get with that local lender so that you can start getting clarity on what you can offer, what your budget is, and that's going to give you a competitive edge going forward. Number 2 is understand your monthly payment, okay? It's not just about purchase price. Factor in taxes, factor in insurance, HOA fees, maintenance. Your monthly number is what you're going to live with every single day. So make sure you understand your monthly payment in each house you're looking at, okay? Number 3 is always work with experienced professionals. Don't work with your sister's brother's cousin just because they're part of the family, all right? Maybe it's your sister's brother who's a lender but doesn't really do a lot of deals, does it part-time. Or maybe it's your sister's cousin that's a real estate agent, but she only does it part-time as well. Find someone that's in the trenches every single day and is experienced doing the buying of homes and the selling of homes. And when you work with a lender, knows how to do all the programs that are out there, because there's a ton of different programs, right? Leads me to number 4 is explore all of the down payment assistance programs, right? There's a ton of different programs out there. We got solar programs that'll come put solar on your house and give you up to $13,000 just to buy a home. We have other ones like USDA that is 0 down, gives you up to 5%. You can use that for your closing costs. You can use that for your down payment, a great program out there. But explore different down payment assistance programs that can help you buy your first home. Now, if you're ready to buy or you're thinking about buying, let's get you pre-approved. I'll get you set up with one of my local lenders, my financial wizards. They are ready to go, ready to help you out, right? If you have a certain area or a neighborhood, let me know. I'll take you on a tour of the neighborhood. We can go look at some homes, see what you think, show you what the market's doing, all right? If you just want to talk, give me a call. 520-406-2201 is my number. Give me a shout, send me a text. We can sit down, we can do a buyer consultation, take about 10, 15 minutes, walk you through the process, get you set up, right? And let you know exactly what the market's doing out there. So if you're thinking about buying, give me a call today. Love to walk you through that process. And if you have any questions at all about buying, please give me a call, send me a text, shoot me a message. Love to help you out. All right, everybody. This was Behind the Sold Side Podcast, the top 5 mistakes first-time home buyers make.